Let me just say something. I'm an average nerdy teen. I wear glasses and I get good grades. And that's all I would ever need. I'm 18, and being pretty old means I have a little brother, Jamie. Now, being 18, I did not want to look after him, but he was turning 13, and coincidentally, the Mega Pizzaplex was a place I hated, mainly because of the finance of Freddy's games. Those games are the reason I fear animatronics to this day. But my dad offered me $100 plus an extra 40 for food, drinks, tickets, and etc. Now, to watch him, all it takes for me is bribery to take care of him. Now, $100 to take care of my little brother for a few hours? Now that's what I call a steal. Since I was basically old enough to watch him without parents, that's what I did. And our mom dropped us off at the main entrance. Jamie wasn't at all nervous, and he was actually the complete opposite of me, being both cool and an introvert. Another reason I didn't want to look after him. We walked inside, and immediately I was in awe of the whole place. It felt so 80s, like it was a time capsule of what the 80s was like. Bright neon lights scattered the entire place, posters everywhere covering the walls showing all the animatronic mascots, and while in the center of it all was a huge golden statue of Freddy Fazbear himself. I saw this from afar, and we walked up to the main check-in area and used our tickets to get in. I told the lady up front it was my brother's birthday, and then we bought him a birthday pass. The lady said Freddy and his gang couldn't wait to meet him. Jamie smiled widely and pulled me over to the main stage area. Holy shit. Let me just say, I've never been here before, and yes, I know teens and kids come here a lot, but seeing the stage for the first time felt like I was at a concert. The stage was massive, and completely new strobe lights were everywhere, complementing the neon lights in the surrounding areas. Like the whole place rocked, no pun intended. And I know I said I really hated this place, but to give it some sort of credit, it did have some sort of style that I was into, retro. We sat down at one of the tables and ordered pizza and soda. The whole band was completely brand new. They were performing pop songs for today and rap, much to my dismay, as I don't really listen to music much. There were 4 animatronics for the stage part of the mall. There was Glamrock Freddy, Chica, Roxanne Wolf, and Montgomery Gator. He seemed okay. They were all made of a polished plastic-like material, making them look shiny and brand new. It was cool, to be honest. But soon enough, the Glamrock songs were over and the curtains had closed. Jamie, of course, was having fun, but I felt very uncomfortable, like an itch that never goes away. And that's when I thought I saw some sort of mascot that seemed to not belong to the other characters or part of the Glamrocks. It was a white rabbit mascot of sorts, and it was standing on one of the balconies staring down at me. I quickly looked away and back to where it was, but it was gone. Huh, that was weird, I thought. I looked at my brother and then looked away. I needed to walk around, because these performances are just as long as a real concert. They could go on for hours. So I stood up and stretched. Jamie asked me where I was going, and I said I needed to go for a walk. He nodded. And then that's when I started to walk around. The whole place everywhere had checkerboard patterned flooring, decorating both the halls and the main areas, with a hint of confetti-style flooring along with the bright neon lights. It felt so soothing. I definitely couldn't imagine a better place for neon than the Mega Pizzaplex. I walked to the main stage area to a shop called Glamrock Gifts. Might as well buy something for Jamie, I thought. So I went and bought him a Glamrock Freddy plushie. It wasn't that expensive anyway. So I walked over back to our seats, and there he was. The show or concert or whatever was long done, and he was sitting down sulking. Are you ready to go? I asked. Because, yeah, I was getting really uncomfortable. And it was getting late, and most of the staff or people have already left or are getting ready to leave. Jamie then asked for my phone. I asked him why, and he told me his phone died and that he wanted to text a friend of his to make them jealous. I really hated that idea, but begrudgingly, I gave him my phone. It was after that he walked away to the arcade and VR area. An hour passed, and Jamie walked over back to me. He looked very uncomfortable. I asked him what was wrong, and he told me he needed to go to the bathroom. Oh, no. You know, when you're at a really big amusement park or mall that has a bathroom, but the nearest one is miles away from where you are? Yeah, that's what it was like here. I told him I would wait for him at the main entrance, and he said okay. I walked over there and waited. 15 minutes go by, and he isn't here. Yet the whole place was closing very soon. Me and Jamie are literally the only people here at this point, and I didn't want to stay here any longer than I had to. So I went to grab the phone out of my pocket when... Fuck! I gave it to Jamie. I immediately stormed back to the bathrooms and yelled for Jamie to give me my phone back. No answer. Fucking hell, he's probably pulling some sick prank on me. I called out for Jamie again. Jamie, are you in here? This isn't funny. No answer. Jamie, quit being an asshole. I mean it. Fine. Since he wants to be an asshole, so will I. I stormed into the bathrooms and saw he was sitting in the first stall. Jamie, what the fuck is wrong with you? I called you at least 5 times. Didn't you hear me? He was in the stall, but something felt wrong. His shoes. They were in the stall and not him. Jamie! Jamie! I shout and start running around the damn mall. Jamie! Jamie, where are you? I ran back to the main entrance, and to my horror, the normal spiel played to alert patrons of any news or updates regarding the Mega Pizzaplex. Attention, Mega Pizzaplex patrons. Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex is now closed, engaging security protocols. Then everything shut off. Though the lights were still on a little bit. I heard a loud, heavy door fall. I ran over to the front doors to find a huge metal door decorated with the mascots had been in place. Why the fuck would they have huge metal doors like this? Who were they trying to keep out? Or in? That's when in the corner of the room I saw it. A figure, though its features were dark and too hard to see, started to walk closer to me, strangely and glitched. Its movement wasn't human or anything I've ever seen. It was a yellow rabbit costumed person. But his eyes were pure black. He had a permanent grin on his face. It released out of his mouth. I couldn't do anything. I just couldn't move. I was paralyzed, and at that moment, fear completely washed over me. And all I could do was stare at the damn thing. Its eyes were now bleeding, and they were so black. It was so unnerving. But he wasn't going to stop coming close to me. Because at that moment I knew it was over. But something came over me. And I was able to move again. And that's why I ran. I ran and I ran, screaming Jamie's name over and over and over again. He wasn't here or anywhere. I couldn't leave without him, and my phone was with him. I kept running hall to hall. And that's where I remembered. He told me earlier today he always wanted to personally meet Freddy. And that's what I ran. I ran to the character meet and greet area. Jamie! Jamie! I screamed his name in desperation, but there was still no answer. Jamie! I was cut off by a loud, guttural scream and crashed. Freaked me out. I ran again. I was never an athletic kid, but the sheer primal instinct was screaming at me to run. And I ran as fast as humanly possible. Before I knew it, I found myself standing in front of the employee-only back rooms. There was a door in front of me, labeled Security Office. I cautiously opened the door. Inside there wasn't much. There were a bunch of monitors, papers everywhere, and food all over the desk and floor. On the table was a simple watch and a flashlight. I grabbed the flashlight and the watch. The watch was themed to look like Glamrock Freddy. It was definitely a modern watch, but not only was it a smartwatch, but a watch with a camera system showcasing every room, every attraction, and every hallway. Why would someone leave a thing like this here? And where is Jamie? Is he at least okay? All these questions swam through my head. I walked out of the office and into the hallway. It was pitch black. The only lights being on was the neon lights or the dimly lit floodlights on the ceiling. I warily walked through the hallway, flashlight in my hand, and I walked back to the main stage. Maybe Jamie's at the stage waiting for me because he was too impatient to wait at the main entrance. I assured myself that he was alright no matter the situation. I looked up at the stage, and that's when it hit me hard in the stomach. All the animatronics. They're gone. They're all gone. It was an empty stage now. I was really trapped. And there was no way out. And that's when I saw one of them. It was the gator one, but he was staring at me. He was staring at me with those wide plastic eyes. It seemed so surreal. And he spoke to me. His eyes completely blank and wide. I walked away slowly into the Freddy meet and greet area. I walked around the mall for what seemed like eternity after that, shouting his name over and over again. And that's when I remembered the smartwatch on my wrist. It had a camera system, so I decided to check the cameras on the watch to try to find him. I found him. He was at the golf course. He was all right. Relief filled my body. Maybe all hope was not lost after all. But the way he stood told me something was wrong. He was motionless in the darkness of the golf course. It was only a dark silhouette of a figure standing there. It was then after that I decided to bolt over there. But before I could, he was gone. There was no trace of any human contact here. I was too late. He must have moved. In my flurry of panic thoughts, the sound of footsteps was nearing me. I didn't get to hear the footsteps until I looked up. Oh, thank God, someone is here to save us, I thought. The footsteps didn't turn from normal footsteps to heavy and mechanical sounding, turning my relief quickly into panic. It was the wolf. It was Roxanne. She spoke to me, but her voice was dark and menacing.
You're not going to see the light.
She then bolted from me. I ran away from her, and I ran as fast as I could. And then I found myself back to where I started, the meet and greet with Freddy. Just what the hell was happening here? Why are they roaming about, and where even is Jimmy? And that's when I heard someone behind me. He quickly grabbed me and placed me in the room. It was... where am I? Freddy. Freddy? I was in shock, and he was talking to me and...
You really shouldn't be here, Jason.
He knew my name. He knew who I was. All I could do was stand there dumbfounded. He spoke again.
Listen, kid. The doors don't open till 6 a.m., so keep moving.
I asked him where
Don't
Jamie
draw
was, but he
attention
couldn't
to
answer.
yourself.
The only bad news I saw from him was the look of guilt in his eyes. I told him I'll keep running, so I did. I ran around and then eventually to a water park area of the Mega Pizza Plex. Again, it was extremely dark, so I couldn't see a single damn thing. Jamie? I called out for his name, but he never answered. The only answer was the discomforting sound of silence. I walked around, beaming my flashlight around. Although it lit up the area, it was still not enough to brighten it up. I walked around more and more. Jamie was not here. I would never find him. Before I could even know, I found another office. It was smaller than the other one I was in, and had 2 doors, with an open and closed control switch with a light switch too. I remembered seeing this type of thing in the first Five Nights at Freddy's game, so I decided to stay in the office, but for not long. I would shut the doors and sit there until at least 5 a.m. Then I would find a working phone and call the police. Everything was all according to plan. But I was so tired from running so much that I fell asleep. I was awakened by the sound of loud banging. It was a rude awakening, but I remembered everything that had just happened and where I was. It was Chica. She was banging at the door, staring at me. I nearly jumped back when I saw her. She was crushed and broken everywhere. Pure anger was in her eyes. I quickly opened the opposite door she was from and bolted out of there. I checked my watch. It was 3:30 a.m. I fell asleep for at least 4 hours. But what could I do in this situation? I was really hopeless. Helpless even. I fell to the ground and curled up into a ball like a helpless 6-year-old when they believe a monster is going to attack them. It was the only thing I could feel like I could do. I didn't hear the thing giggle. It was so off-putting that I found myself standing up and walking towards her. I really wasn't getting out of here, and I knew it all too well. I couldn't stop myself from walking, though. Her voice was hypnotic. And before I knew it, I was right in front of her. It was the same rabbit as before. She felt so soothing, and her voice wasn't helping. That's when she asked the question.
Are you having fun yet?
That's, for the life of me, I can never be able to explain what happened next, but all I can say is you remember that scene from Get Out when Chris got hypnotized by his girlfriend's mom and he ended up in the sunken place? Because that's what happened to me. I was falling in an endless black void, and I could see what was happening in front of me. I know it sounds crazy, but it's the only way I can truly describe what happened to me in this moment. I screamed and I screamed and I shouted so loud, but nothing came out of my mouth. No sound at all. It was like I was in a nightmare. I couldn't scream. All I could do was look above me in horror as I saw Jamie appear in front of me out of thin air, in the same state of mind as me. He too was standing there, the look of horror on his face, his mouth wide open, eyes filled with pure primal fear. I cried. We really were in the end. Never escaping, huh? The White Rabbit suddenly spoke. She spoke in a very excited, distorted voice. Then another one spoke. It was a very angry, gruff male voice, but very distorted, almost glitchy and unintelligible. It freaked me out, but I couldn't really make it out. But I suddenly knew who he was talking about. It was Jamie. I screamed, and I screamed so loud that in the moment, I didn't care what happened or who heard me. I just wanted Jamie to be safe. Sure, he was mean and different than me, but he couldn't help it. He was just a kid. Out of nowhere, words came out of my mouth so fast I didn't even have enough time to hear it or comprehend what I had said. No, take me instead, don't hurt him. Glitchy voice teasingly said. And the next thing I knew, I was walking, talking, and moving. Only it wasn't me who was controlling my body. It was him. Jamie sprung to life and immediately ran, and my body ran after him. I apparently threatened him and told him I would kill him before he could scream for help. I could hear his voice, my voice. It was menacing and malevolent, purely and simply evil. I chased Jamie down the halls and through every attraction. He was running as fast as any 13-year-old could. However, my strength got the better of him as he begged me to let him go, but I didn't. It wasn't me who was doing this. It really wasn't. It was him. Jamie sobbed loudly. He was crying. Jamie wailed for me to come back, but I couldn't. I couldn't come back. I heard myself growl in anger and grab Jamie by the arm and pull him up. The White Rabbit handed me a knife, and I was about to cut the skin off him when Jamie stared directly into my eyes. He was looking right at me. I was fighting him, and before I knew it, I felt myself rising up in front of the dull black void at 1,000 miles per second. Before I knew it, I was back. Jamie, we have to run, now! We ran out of the hallway and back into the main entrance exit, the White Rabbit following close behind. She ran and we were neck and neck together. However, she stopped. She stopped, and right next to her appeared that same goddamn rabbit I saw before. The Yellow Rabbit excitedly said. He then tried to take his head off, revealing a clever map. He was screaming, but in delight, laughing at the same time. He grabbed the White Rabbit by her ears, sliced her head off, blood spraying all over the floor like a hose. The mask was stuck in a wicked smile, but she was not having any fun at all, as he stabbed her over and over and over again, and even himself. Her entire costume dyed a crimson red. Whilst the constant screaming of both of them echoed throughout the hall, I covered my eyes and screamed, but before we all knew it, they disappeared. There was no blood. The both of us, after seeing all of that, vomited on the pavement. After that, I checked my Freddy watch. It was 6 a.m. We made it! Both of us alive and well! The large metal doors finally opened, revealing sunlight. The two of us rejoiced and hugged each other in the warm embrace. Never again will we lose each other. No more am I afraid, and never again will we ever come back here for sure. We walked out of there like champions, both glad to see each other and relieved to be safe and sound. In the distance, police sirens were heard. We sat down on the ground in the parking lot, waiting for police to come. They did and asked us questions. Sitting next to us, far but not too far, was a young boy. He was younger than Jamie, but he was sitting there, staring at the morning sky. And I swear I saw him smile. I did too, and so did Jamie. I guess the fear of never knowing when you'll survive makes you all the more appreciate the little things in life. Weeks passed, and Jamie and I won't talk about the events that happened that night. As even if we try to explain it, and explain what went down that night, it will never sound sane. Apparently the boy sitting next to us from afar survived an ordeal with that white rabbit too, as we were not the only ones who survived. However, lives have been taken that day, and he claims that White Rabbit's name was Vanessa, and that she tried to kill him, but acted as a night guard pretending to help him escape. But there was never a night guard, nor an employee or a person named Vanessa. I didn't even know who she was, too, until he said that in a news article. I have to talk to him, and Jamie, to get the other half of the story. Jamie doesn't want to talk about it, though, and I couldn't blame him. It was hard enough just to tell my story, but all I know for certain is that things will never be the same again. Ever.